Hi, welcome to a chef called Rhonda. I'm Rhonda and this is my kitchen. And today I'm going to show you how to make a traditional Tuscan biscotti with dried fruit and almonds. But first, a bit of history in reference to the Italian biscotti. The first biscotti, which were often referred to as Biscotti di Prato, were created in 14th century Tuscany in the city of Prato, P-R-A-T-O. More modern biscotti are associated with the Tuscan region of Italy. The popular Italian cookie can trace its origins all the way back to the Roman times. And the word biscotto derives from bis, the Latin for twice. And cotto is Roman for cooked. The Roman biscotti were more about convenience food for travelers rather than a pleasurable treat for leisurely diners. Unleavened, finger-shaped wafers were baked first to cook them, and then the second time, bis, to completely dry them out, making them durable for the travelers. Cookie traveled so well they would pack them on long journeys, and some would joke and boast that these cookies were edible for centuries. Biscotti were a staple of the diet of the Roman legions. And toward that end, the biscotti cookie became perfect for dunking and soaking up the sweet wine. But it sounds so much more enjoyable than a coffee and a donut, right, here in the States. Stay with me as I show you my grandmother's traditional biscotti with almonds and dried fruit. Grab your trusty wooden spoon. We'll all meet back in the kitchen and we will learn how to make Italian biscotti. Okay, while I put on my vinyl gloves, I'd like to go over the ingredients today for the biscotti. We'll bake them twice, once to cook them and the second time to dry them out so that they'll have longevity and staying power in your cookie jar. So today I am working with 4½ cups of flour in stages. The first 2½ cups of flour I will sift with 1 tablespoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of baking soda. Then I will move on to my preparation bowl and I will add 4 eggs. Then I will add my 1 cup sugar, 1 cup of hard brown sugar, 1½ sticks, also known as 6 ounces of unsalted premium European butter, 1 lemon. Can you see that? I've zested it. I've chosen to use fig, and fico or fig is an ancient fruit which is indigenous to Italy. So I've chosen fig, dried fig, as well as dried cherries because 'tis the season. And then I've chosen my sliced unsalted raw almonds. I will add that to the batter, coupled with 1 teaspoon of good quality vanilla. Here I'll choose to use Mexican vanilla. Can you see that? I'll add about 1½ teaspoons of good quality almond extract. Pull everything together and we'll make that nice biscotti dough, the initial dough. And then we'll bring back our 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Render a nice, stiff, hard dough. We'll turn the dough out and I'll teach you how to make that classic, traditional Italian biscotti that hails all the way back to 455 CE, the times of the Roman Empire. Stay with me as I show you how to make this wonderful, sweet, long-lasting treat. I'm going to use just a medium-sized strainer over a medium-sized preparation bowl, and to this I'm going to add my baking powder and my baking soda to my preparation bowl with my 2½ cups of flour, all-purpose. I'm just going to sift the flour, the baking soda, and the baking powder together in an effort to make a nice, smooth, and combined flour mixture. And there we are. Okay, so now that our 2½ cups of flour and baking powder and baking soda is all sifted together, I'll put that aside. Now time to crack our 4 room temperature eggs. Preparation bowl, 1, 2, 3, 4. Grandma has always taught me to grab the end of your wire whisk and pop the yolks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Duly noted here, I'm using a large preparation bowl because you're going to need the space to create the dough. Next, I'm going to add my 1 cup of white granulated sugar. I have my trusty wooden spoon, by the way, to add our brown sugar. I have 1 cup of firmly packed brown sugar, and I'm just going to turn that right out. Take the back edge of the trusty wooden spoon here, and I'm going to start to add the egg and the sugar together, and we're going to make a nice creamy consistency. Mix the egg and the sugars together for about a minute and a minute and a half. Use the back edge of that spoon, that trusty wooden spoon, and you can duly note, you can see the egg and the sugars taking hold of the back of the spoon. That's when you know it's okay to add our 1½ stick unsalted butter. Just slowly add that into our sugar. Bring in our electric mixer for about a minute and a half. I'm just going to incorporate the butter into the sugar, like so. You can see good quality Mexican vanilla. Almond extract, like so. Lemon zest, can you see that? The zest of 1 lemon. Cookie with the almond and the lemon, you get that nice little hint, nice little contrast. About a ½ minute, and we're going to mix the extracts together with the like so. Making traditional Italian biscotti. Our batter looks to be pretty much together, nice and creamy. Our lemon juice into the batter, and that's half the juice of 1 lemon, and our dried cherries and our fig come next. Sliced almonds, can you see that? 1. Because the almonds will offer the protein. Trusty wooden spoon. I'm just going to incorporate my almonds and my fruit. Our initial 2½ cups of already sifted flour at a time in segments. We will be utilizing about 4½ to 5 cups of flour, and again, we're going to bake these cookies twice to sufficiently dry them out and make them resistant to mold and have a nice shelf life. Oh, these cookies can last a month. I mean, these ingredients are classic and long withstanding. We'll go back in and we'll do the same again. Pulling your flour from the sides of the preparation. Heavenly, it smells. Oh, the almonds give that little aroma, or the fico, and you can smell the dried cherries, and you can see the little bits taking shape into the batter. And we'll add the remains of that flour. I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour in waiting. However, it doesn't have the baking powder or baking soda. It's just flour. I'm going to make the dough non-tacky, non-sticky, and nice and dry and almost shapeable, if you will. You can tell now the dough here at this point, and I'm going to bring this up close. You can tell here the dough here is sticky and wet, okay? We haven't finished. Take our silicone spatula and clean our trusty wooden spoon. The oven is preheated to 375 degrees. Once we turn out our biscotti onto our previously parchment-lined baking pans, and I have 2, we will bake them initially at 375, well, actually 375 to 385, depending on your oven, and you'll have to be the judge of that, for 20 minutes. And they should be just about a golden brown on top. But that's it, just between pale golden and golden brown. And that's when you'll recognize that that first baking is complete. Cups of remaining flour. And I'm going to slowly add, I have my trusty wooden spoon, 1 heaping full into the flour. Now this, folks, okay, I am going to be quite frank here. This is work, because this is when the dough starts to become really taut and really stiff. But that's the dough the traditional biscotti cookie was made with. Wooden spoonfuls And flour is very, very important stage here. Very important because we want to get that dough dry and stiff. Thanks for watching A Chef Called Rhonda. We're growing as a channel every week. We're growing. Haven't subscribed to A Chef Called Rhonda? Please, would you consider subscribing to A Chef Called Rhonda? It's always healthy, always delicious, and always fun. Final 2 scoops of that all-purpose, real stiff. You can see the bits of fruit. You can see the bits of almond. Probably make about 60, and that's what the consistency should look like after you add that secondary 2-cup flour. I'm going to show you exactly how to turn the dough and shape the dough, the biscotti dough, traditional biscotti dough, into the log, if you will, and prepare it for baking. 2 tablespoons. I have my trusty wooden spoon that you folks know of, and then I have the trusty wooden spoon's little sister. Just lay out a portion of the dough here onto my baking sheet. Shape this biscotti log like so. Take another heaping full, like so. You can see the process of what I'm doing. I'm adding my trusty wooden spoonful, heaping spoonfuls of the dough next to each other and shaping it with a stainless steel spoon. Manually shaping the dough into the log like so, and the sides. Okay, so this takes some patience. Shaping my biscotti dough, and I'll connect it to that second spoonful. I'll use the back of the stainless steel spoon. I'm making that log, if you will. The dough will spread a little bit due to the baking powder, but not too much. Ever so gently. I don't like it to look manufactured, so my rustic work here, I'm just going to run my hands over, and I'm going to go in with my hands again, and I'm just going to shape it. And biscotti logs per baking sheet. So I'll be baking 2 logs. This recipe will yield about 75 to 100 biscotti once we're done. Sweetness. I'm going in now and I'm making a second log, spoonfuls together, making a nice log, like so. You can see that, right? So we have 1 biscotti already done. And when the biscotti are completely done on the first baking, I will then teach you how to cut them, and that's always the best fun, I think. And I'm just going to go with the back edge here, and I'm just going to press in the sides, and I'm just kind of evening off. That's our first 2. Can you see that? Can you see they're about 2 inches in thickness? Can you see all the fruit and the nuts? Oh, they look good, don't they? Oven, and we're going to bake them off initially for about 18 to 20 minutes until they're lightly golden brown. Okay, there we have it. I have 3 biscotti logs. I have 3 today. So that recipe actually made 3 logs, and here's the first 2, which I'll bake off. And you can see, and I want to bring it up nice and close so you can see the bits. And you can see how nice. These guys will bake at 385 for about 18 to 20 minutes, just until golden brown. We're going to pop them in the oven now, and stay tuned. Meet me back here in the kitchen, and I'll show you how to cut traditional biscotti cookies. So it's time now to remove our biscotti from the oven. We've had them in the oven for about 20 minutes. Look at what they look like. Okay, so you can see that they're nice and golden brown on the sides and throughout. Okay, first and foremost, we need to reduce it to 350 because after cutting them, we will then bake them for that second baking. Next, I'm going to show you how to cut on the diagonal our biscotti. Go underneath our biscotti log, and I'm just going to transfer it. It's time to cut our cookies into that authentico biscotti shape, and it's generally done on a diagonal. Now, I will cut the ends off on a diagonal, and that is the way I will stop my biscotti cookies. Now, traditionally in Italian, we call the end of our bread or our cookie the calucci, and here it is. Here's the first piece. This is the calucci. It means the end. Okay, and I'll situate that on our newly lined baking pans. So in effect, they can go back into the oven to dry out. And I will just cut these cookies on the diagonal, once again, about 1.5 inches in, maybe 1 inch, 1.25 inches. And there's our first biscotti cookie. You see that? I will lie the biscotti facing down on our newly lined cookie sheet. And just ever so gently on the diagonal, delicately. Let me bring them up close. So you have, so far we have our coluche here. That was our first piece, our end, and maybe grandfather would like that one the most. And then we have our biscottis in whole. You see that? Okay, here's our first tray that we cut. And I want to bring it up close yet again because that's our first of which needs to go into the oven. We're going to pop this baking sheet into our already preheated oven at 350 for about 6 to 8 minutes, and then we'll go in and we'll flip the cookies and do it all again. Bring it up close. All right, can you see that? The initial tray is in that 350 drying out. It's fairly warm too, to help the knife go through our dough. By the same token, though, a tip here, you want to go very, very gingerly utilizing your coltello or your knife. Coltello, knife. First batch of twice baked at 350, we're going to take a look at right now, and then we're going to see if they need to be turned and have another 6 minutes. Okay, you can visibly see the toastiness. We left this in at 350 for about 6 minutes to toast, and they're okay like this right now. They're very warm, obviously, and I have my mitt on, word of caution. But at this time, we're going to check the other side to see if they need another 6 or 7 minutes to go to fully brown. In the coming days, they will render, I flip these two, you can see, they will render a great, allow them to cool for about 2 minutes on the existing baking pan, which is still very warm, obviously. And then I'll transfer them to a wire rack and let them completely cool before we try them. Okay. There we are. Look at that. Oh, look how nice. All right, so we're going to leave these on the side here, and we're going to allow these cookies, and we have our coluche here. Here we are. Our Italian biscottis are finito, and I'd like to show you exactly what they look like as I plated them, and we have all different shapes and sizes, and you can see the bits of goodness. Can you see that? Moment of truth. We are finito. What a wonderful recipe. I wanted to say many, many thanks for watching today's recipe. My grandmother would be so proud that you have joined me in this wonderful, classic, traditional Italian biscotti, dried fruit and almond. All right, so I brewed up a little bit of that hot pot espresso because that's my favorite accompaniment with this traditional cookie. And here it is. Let's see. First, take that smell. Oh, it smells heavenly, and it's just crunchy. And I am going to be, excuse me, I am going to, the fruit, the nut, the twice baked really enhances the flavor of the almond, and it toasts it just so ever so nicely, so you get the sweetness and the sweetness from the fig and the cherry. Let's go in for a dipping. Grandma would be so proud, and this is traditional here. Oh well. This biscotti, traditional, not too sweet, very light, wonderful texture. And you can even dip it into your wine if that's something you choose to do. Again, I wanted to say, if you haven't subscribed, please would you consider doing so? It's always healthy, always delicious, and always fun. My kitchen to yours. With every bite of that biscotti, I bid you cindan, salute. Until we meet again. Until we meet again. Bye. Bye. Hi to all my subscribers. Bye. Try this cookie, it's fabulous. And they can freeze too, up to 6 months. Enjoy. Cindan. Bravo, perfetto. Mangia. Biscotti. Bravissimo. Bye. Ciao ciao. Arrivederci. Bye. So good. Bye.